Hey everybody, how is it going? Tom from LaunchBoom here. If you can hear me, give me a big old thumbs up. Let me know where you guys are from. Looks like we've got people chiming in from New York, Sao Paulo, Lisbon, India. That's super exciting. I'm gonna get Enzo in here right now. So if you guys can hear me, give me let me know. Let me know over in the chat. And so excited to hey, how's it going, everybody? So excited to have everybody here. Wow, look at how many people there are. Hey, Enzo, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Glad to join.
Hey. Let me see here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Are you getting any feedback on my end? How am I sounding?
Perfect.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. Cool. Glad we're coming in loud and clear. If you guys have any issues or anything like that, don't hesitate to let me know. But yeah, wow, we've got so many amazing people on here today. Wow, we've got so many viewers from all over the world. And so without further ado, I'd love to jump right on into this. We've got a lot of content for you guys here today. I'm gonna go over some housekeeping items. I'd love to first start off though, before we get into those housekeeping bits, introduce Enzo from Indiegogo. How's it going, Enzo?
Great. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Happy to have you, man. Thank you so much for hopping on, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge with everybody here. Do you want to give everybody a little bit of a background about your history at Indiegogo, anything like that?
Sure. I'm the head of sales at Indiegogo, and my role here is to help entrepreneurs from around the world to launch successfully through our platform. I've been at Indiegogo a little bit over 3 years now, but I've been in the business of launching crowdfunding campaigns for around 7 to 8 years. Previously, I worked as a PR representative in a small boutique PR agency based in San Francisco. But I decided to join Indiegogo because we play a very central role in the industry in helping entrepreneurs launch to the market.
Awesome. So we can safely say you've probably been a part of or touched thousands of campaigns at this point.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. So very cool. And where are you located?
I'm currently calling in from Oakland, California, but our headquarters is located in San Francisco typically.
Very cool. Very cool. And so for everybody who doesn't know who I am, I'm Tom Dadourian, CMO of LaunchBoom, calling in from North Carolina, actually. I'm currently painting my house, so it's a little, I apologize for the dust and all of that going on behind me. But most of our team is located out in San Diego. So super excited to be on here. Let me go over a couple housekeeping bits before we jump on in. So we've got a ton of really great content for you guys today. If you guys have questions that come up as we're going through this content, just use the Ask a Question tool. If you don't know how that works or can't figure it out, totally cool. You can put it in the comments and I'll pull it in there. At the end of this, we're going to be doing like an AMA/Q&A where we'll be able to answer all of your questions and get through as many as possible. And so you can also upvote questions that you like, and we'll do our best to kind of go through kind of down the list to get those questions answered. Before we do that Q&A, we'll also do a COVID-19 update talking about kind of the things that we're seeing. But without further ado, we're going to hop right on into the content because we've got some really great content here today. And I know I'm already seeing questions come in. We've got a lot of questions today, so we'll do our best to get through all of this stuff. So let's dive into this content here. And so the first thing, again, the purpose of this is to talk about raising 7 figures. What does it look like to raise 7 figures on Indiegogo? And both myself and Enzo have had a ton of experience with that. And we want to focus on 7 essential marketing elements, as well as some other tips and strategies that we're going to get into in just a second here. But these are like the kind of like the core principles, if you will, when it comes to crowdfunding that are really going to support you in having that 7-figure raise that you're looking for. So let's jump right on in. I'll hit the first one, and then we'll be kind of passing them back and forth. So the first element that's really important is testing. If you guys are familiar with LaunchBoom, you guys are familiar with TestBoom. Testing is so important. Using your community building process, which we'll talk about in just a second, to test your product. Not just talk to your friends, but get real data, get it out there, get people to see your product from an advertising perspective. What we do at LaunchBoom is we usually recommend testing about $2,000 of ad spend prior to even moving into your launch or your crowdfunding phase or your pre-launch crowdfunding phase, just so you can identify proper colors, your messaging positioning, your price point, what people love about it, what's your unique selling point or your USP. You want to do as much testing as possible, as early as possible, even before you get into crowdfunding, right? Before you get that campaign up, because the more that you can test, the more that you can figure those things out before you go live, the better you're going to do, and the more likelihood you're going to have of raising 7 figures. Enzo, anything else you want to jump in here on the testing front?
That's exactly right, Thomas. We like to start with testing because when it comes to launching a proper crowdfunding campaign, you really want to take a data-driven approach to your launch, understanding what are the typical drivers of demand for your product or project. And so by doing this testing, you are trying to answer all of the assumptions that you're coming into this campaign. Assumptions like, would consumers like the black version of my product or the white version? What type of branding elements resonate most with my target audience? If we're looking to launch a documentary movie, where should we have a screening? Should that be in certain cities around the United States, or are we going global? So a lot of the answers that you're getting from this testing phase is to answer some of those assumptions that you're coming in with. And while we can give you a certain idea what our community will like, it's always best to reach out directly to your consumer and target audience to get from their feedback on what works best.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many, a lot of times a great way that we do this as well is we invite people into a Facebook group and we get, feedback and have completely changed products prior to launching the crowdfunding campaign. So highly, highly recommend it. You want to take the next one, Enzo? Your favorite?
Yeah. So as you go through the testing process, you're gonna find you're gonna collect some data to understand what resonates most with your backers. And while you're doing so, you're also building a community. And what we mean by community upfront is by collecting email addresses to essentially subscribe to your email subscribers list to be the first to know when the campaign launches and ultimately get the biggest discount out of everyone. So this community is going to be generating the initial momentum of your campaign. They're going to be that foundational support who's going to continue to provide you with feedback and throughout your product development process. So community building is essential and very critical in the lead up to the launch of the campaign.
100%. If you want to raise 7 figures, you have to do community building. You have to do a pre-launch. All of those campaigns, or most of the campaigns you see out there that are raising 6 and 7 figures, have done that pre-work to build a community so that day one, they're not just, wishing that they're going to raise money. They're going to hit their goal within the first 15 minutes of launching a campaign. Most of our campaigns, when we launch, they hit it within the first 10 to 15 minutes, if not the first 24 hours. And so all of that community building is so important. And the other kind of like tip or trick that I'll give all of you guys here right now to support you in raising 7 figures is look at your lead offer and look at trying to get as late of a metric as possible. So what that means is, one of the things that we do over at LaunchBoom is we do reservation funnels. So rather than just collecting email addresses, we're actually getting people to put $1 down so that we can identify that cost per acquisition. We know that those individuals are qualified. We know that those people that are putting in $1 are qualified. And that's something that's super important. If you just give away a Tesla and collect 100,000 emails, my guess is none of those people are going to buy your product. And so whatever your lead offer is, which is enticing people to join your community, like getting a discount on your product, for example, or getting a customized version of your product, you want to make sure it's relevant to your product, and you want to do everything that you can to get as late stage of a metric as possible. And so for us, it's not just cost per lead, it's cost per reservation, because we know those people are more qualified.
And just before we move on here, Tom, I would like to address Steve Wood's question with regards to how do you do that with no product. We actually recommend that before you start any of these marketing initiatives, that you bring your product up to mass manufacturability, and you also understand how you're going to distribute and fulfill those units. That way you can better understand how much it's going to cost for you to manufacture the product and what margins you are able to work with. If you're not launching a product, if you're looking to launch a campaign based on a film documentary, You just want to make sure that you have all the elements figured out and a good pricing structure for what you're looking to provide on the campaign.
Awesome. We had great questions, guys. And again, get those questions in there, and we'll get those answered for you. So next is, of course, the creative assets. This is super important, right? So we're talking about your campaign page and your campaign video. If you're selling a product, especially an expensive product, or if you're like a premium version of something, it's so important to have assets that reflect that. Again, it's totally possible to shoot it on an iPhone and to cut corners and things like that and still do really well. But here we're talking about 7-figure campaigns. All of the 7-figure campaigns that I've been a part of and I've worked on have really high quality campaign pages and campaign videos that were created by either LaunchBoom or really, really awesome video production agencies. And so that is your brand experience. When people are watching that video, not only is it an asset that's going to go into your advertising, it's also going to establish your consumer-based brand equity so that people are able to imagine themselves using and interacting with your product. And if you've got a not so great campaign page that doesn't tell a good story, or you don't have a good video that doesn't illustrate why your product is the best thing ever and why they should buy it, you're going to have a really tough time. Even if you're doing great on the ads, you want to make sure that your creative assets are reflecting everything that you're doing and are able to actually convert that traffic once they get to Indiegogo. That's so important. And you can, of course, use everything that we've talked about up to now, the testing and community building, to support with the creation of those assets.
That's correct. And you really want the video to bridge the gap between the consumer and the product itself. And best practice on Indiegogo is to create a 90-second launch video, because we know that backers typically only spend 2.5 minutes before they contribute towards the campaign. However, if you have more things to say, you can always have supplementary videos throughout the campaign as well that you can add over to the media gallery right under your launch video.
Yeah, exactly. Testimonials are great. Those kinds of things. We'll talk about that kind of stuff here in a second. But yeah, and if you want like the #1 tip on how to create an amazing crowdfunding video, look at the first 5 seconds. People don't have long attention spans, and being able to like land that hook is going to be super, super important.
And budget-wise, with regards to video, they can range anywhere from as low as $8,000 for a single actor, single location, not too many visual effects, all the way up to $50,000 for ones that have multiple actors, multiple locations, and visual effects. I know for a fact that having a pet in your video is also very expensive, so I try to avoid that as much as possible.
I would say the sweet spot is I would say is about 15,000. If you're looking for like a 7-figure campaign, I would say about that's probably what you're going to be looking at. I'd say on the low end, you'd be looking at like 10K. So I've seen lower. I've seen like campaigns run videos that they paid like 5 to 8K for sure. It's totally doable. But usually, I'd say the average is close to between 10 and 15.
That sounds right, Thomas. And by working with LaunchBoom and Indiegogo, we can provide you with some references to some of our best videographers in the business.
100%. Yeah. And again, that's a fun thing too, is LaunchBoom, we do have an in-house team, and that's how much we charge. It's between 10 and 15,000. So
awesome.
Cool. Let's hit the next one.
Amplification. This is really referring back to running ads for the campaign. The bulk of the work will actually happen once you launch the campaign and go live. But in this phase, before you launch the campaign, the goal is to optimize your conversion rates, drive down the cost per acquisition, and drive up your return on ad spend. And to do so, it goes back to that testing phase, right? You're testing out different marketing assets, different images, different branding elements, to see which ones resonate most with backers, and therefore that will then drive down your conversion rates over time. Typically, we recommend testing, and I believe LaunchBoom recommends testing with around $2,000 worth of ad spend upfront. And then once you know that the conversion rates are looking good, you can then launch the campaign knowing that you'll have a good return on ad spend when you boost your ad spend budget.
Yeah, absolutely, Enzo. And if we're looking at live, so again, you've got advertising or amplification in a couple different places. You've got your pre-campaign, and then you got your live campaign advertising. And if you want to raise $1 million, expect like, because I know a question that comes up a lot is how much budget should I, how much should I budget for advertising if I want to raise 7 figures? So the minimum I would recommend is 10% of the amount you want to raise. So for example, if you want to raise $1 million, you have to have a minimum of $100,000 to hit that. And from an advertising perspective, a lot of times, again, usually you're seeing, anywhere from 3 to 10x returns. Again, that's a pretty wide like range there, depending on your product. And it really does depend on your goals. I've worked on a campaign that raised $3 million, and their budget for that was $1 million. So, and that was their goal. They were not focused on making a ton of money or being super profitable. They just wanted to get as many backers as possible. So they had $1 million advertising budget, and they and then raised about $3 million. So again, it really depends on kind of what your objectives are and what you're looking to do. But once you identify your cost to acquire, your cost per acquisition, you're going to want to spend as much money as physically possible in order to get that out, right? Because if you know that you're profitable at a 3x return, right? For every dollar you put in, you're getting $3 back, right? That's like an endless ATM machine. You're going to, do everything you can to like put in as many dollars as possible, right? Because like, sure, you could raise $100,000 and be super profitable and have like 100 backers. But compared to like Amazon's done this, Apple's done this, like so many like big companies do this all the time, where it's like razor thin margins at like scale, because this is what's going to ultimately build your business, right? Is every backer you have, the AOV, of course, is you want to be profitable on that, but every single one of those people are going to support you on your next campaign. They're going to buy those add-ons. They're going to support you when you move into e-commerce. And so being able to like really amplify your campaign through advertising is super important. And I highly recommend working with the best in the business. And we're going to be talking about that in a second. Just to kind of tease it, my answer to that would be like working with Indiegogo and with LaunchBoom. But I'll save that one for when we get there. Anything else you want to add on the amplification, Enzo?
I'll just add that it's really important to understand your conversion rates and keep track of it. And one of the proprietary tools that we have within Indiegogo is the ability for you to plug in your Facebook pixels and Google pixel tracking to really understand why people are resonating with your branding elements and ad conversions.
Absolutely. That is like by far my number one, like people ask me, I didn't want to bring up the whole like Kickstarter versus Indiegogo thing. And I'm not going to go into big detail here, but the number one reason why I love Indiegogo is because of that Facebook pixel. The ability to actually track your advertising and being able to then feed that information back into Facebook to allow their AI to actually help you optimize your ads is a game changer, right? It's incredible, especially if you're running ads on your own. Being able to have a pixel is so important and is going to make your life exponentially easier.
Totally.
Next up, validation. So what's really important too is, again, we're dealing in the industry of pre-orders, right? So nobody's going into a store and like touching and feeling, your super cool, product, right? So you need to validate the fact that you have a real product, you're going to deliver it, people like it. And so validation really at the end of the day is social proof. And it's really important on your campaign page, in your advertisements, kind of like just across the board, everything that you're doing is you're validating and verifying the fact that you have an awesome product. And so that looks like PR, testimonials, user reviews, getting into the hands of influencers, and getting them to do unboxing videos and getting them to like feel and touch and experience your product. And I know, if you've got like only that one golden prototype, that can be a little bit more difficult. And so even if you or a family member, you're just filming them even with an iPhone, just shooting them experiencing using that product to validate it. And then of course, all that press, all of that PR, all of that stuff is going to be really, really important in terms of validating and verifying that you have a legit product and you're going to be able to deliver it.
Totally. And one other form of validation that wasn't yet mentioned that's unique to Indiegogo is our strategic partnership with Aero Electronics and the ability for you to also get certification for manufacturability for your product. And this is specific to hardware electronics. So if you're looking for a third party to take a look at your bill of materials and approve it for mass manufacturability, Aero is the way to go for that. And once you get your certificate, when you launch your campaign, you'll get an Aero certification badge on your campaign. And that does, we've seen the data, and it does improve on the conversion rates of campaigns that do have them.
Yeah, I mean, even being a project we love on Indiegogo, that's a validation. That's huge.
That's
right?
exactly right. Yeah. And with regards to PR, the main goal here is to really reach out to just the top tier publications to cover your campaign. Usually, if you reach to 2 or 3 top tier publications, the TechCrunch, The Verge, New York Times, once they cover it, all of the publications under them will follow suit and look to talk about the same campaign.
Absolutely. You want to hit this one, Enzo?
Yeah, so this is sort of the final phase of the pre-launch. This is where everything comes together. You would be adding your campaign launch video, using the data that you collect through the testing and through the amplification process, and exploit that data and show it throughout your campaign. This is also where you would be presenting your pricing and perk structure. Where you would be giving a reward, quote unquote reward, for the contributions that backers are making on the campaign page. And again, by working with the Indiegogo team, we can provide you with feedback and best practices to make sure that your campaign page is ready and has all the elements needed for a good launch.
Yeah, well said, Enzo. And this is super important. It's for things to work together, and that's why I recommend working with LaunchBoom, is because we're a full service agency. Like, we're not just like, okay, we're just doing your ads and we're shopping this out over here, like, to get your creative. Like, we're full service. We're in everything. And so when our designers, our video team, like, all of that stuff is in house. And so what we're doing is when we're connecting, how our advertising's doing to the photos that are on your campaign page, we're making those choices based on data. And so really, at the end of the day, when it comes to creating your campaign, look at it from a macro perspective. Look at it, the big picture, and how everything fits together. So last but definitely not least, number 7, we have communication. I cannot tell you how many campaigns I have seen die either before, during, or after they launch because they're not communicating with their backers. Do not hide. Do not run away. Like, if you do not pass go straight to jail. You're going to have a really bad time. Crowdfunding is about communication. That's why, like, people love backing these projects, because they get to connect directly with the founders of these cool companies, right? You can't do that. You can't just like message, the CEO of Nike and be like, "Hey man, how's it going? Hey Tim, what's going on?" You can't do that. But that's why people love crowdfunding, is making yourself available, communicating, whether it's on the ads, on the campaign page, via email, responding. You have no idea how impactful that one little message can be in terms of getting that individual's friends and family mobilized to back your campaign. And it can also, of course, really hurt you if you're not communicating. That doesn't mean that things don't always have to go well, right? Like, things happen. COVID-19 happens, right? But being able to communicate about that is really, really important. And keeping your community in the loop and over communicating is super, super, super important, and is truly an aspect of the best 7-figure campaigns that I've worked on.
I can agree more. I think it's just part of being a professional brand, right? And also nurturing a community that you've been building from before the campaign actually launches. And to your point, Tom, with regards to the current situation with COVID-19, we've seen a lot of campaigners have issues with supply chains. Some campaigners have factories where the government is mandating them to manufacture other items outside of their own. And so you have to be able to communicate these things transparently and also often with your backer community. Because what we found is that backers are typically mad, not because a campaign or a product is delayed, but because a product is delayed and they haven't heard anything from the campaigner. So as much as possible, if you can consistently communicate with your backers within 24 hours of them posing any questions, that would be most ideal for a successful campaign.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
keep in mind that if you nurture your community, they will become loyal followers of your brand, and they will continue to contribute and back future products should you choose to launch a second or third campaign. So good communications from the beginning is going to help to nurture that community.
100%. Well said, Enzo. So the next section we have for you guys is we're going to be talking about perk strategies that improve conversion metrics. This is really, really important. And this is something that's definitely in your control. And so these strategies should be really, really impactful in supporting you and growing your revenue as well as your conversion rate. And so first one is discounting. Discounting is really, of course, important. People are, if they wanted to buy something at full price, they would go to Amazon or retail, right? Via crowdfunding, it's cool because people are able to get access to the coolest new gadgets at a discount before anyone else. And that's usually those are like the three things that I like to share with people. And being able to discount your product and showing that you're getting a reward for backing this early, for getting in early, for being an early adopter, is fantastic at improving your conversion rate.
That's right, and the feeling that you want to impart towards backers with these perk strategies is a sense of exclusivity and also a sense of urgency to not only contribute but also contribute early and quickly to get the biggest advantage with regards to the pricing.
Yeah. So number two is price anchoring. So one of the things that's really, really cool, or something that you can do, is when you are showing, so again, we'll talk about secret perks in a minute, but being able to show different tiers is really important. Being able to show that, like, hey, if you don't get in now, you're going to miss out and you're going to have to go with the next tier. Right? Or for example, like a secret perk, right? If you don't back it now and you don't get access to the secret perk, then you're going to have to pay what everybody else is paying. And so price anchoring also is going to go hand in hand with limited availability. So like that's the other thing too, is like, as Enzo was just telling you guys about, exclusivity is really important. And that, again, that like limited quantity, that limited amount, that special edition is really, really important. And so being able to have that both limited quantity as well as with that price anchoring, which is price anchoring again is when you see one price anchored by another. You see that, like, okay, cool, if I buy it today, it's $50. If I buy it, if I leave right now, it's going to be $80, right? That's price anchoring. And so that exclusivity will really, really improve and increase your conversion rate.
And it also creates a sense of scarcity, right? Thank you for mentioning with regards to the limited quantities. Having those limited quantities help backers to also contribute quicker because they see that it may run out sooner rather if they don't contribute at that time. Yeah,
super important.
Delivery timing is another way that you can create a sense of urgency to contribute early. Now, this is something, an element that campaigners don't typically use, but you can use it to your advantage in two different ways. One is to create different batches for delivery, right? You've got the first batch, 100 quantities, biggest discount, and it also delivers the earliest. And then once you've delivered all of those, you've got a second batch at a later delivery date. So not only are you creating a sense of urgency to contribute early to get the product first, but you're also allowing yourself, the campaigner, to provide a cadence in terms of delivery so that you don't have to deliver all units that were backed on the campaign all at once by a given delivery date. You can pace the delivery throughout the duration, and that also helps backers the ability to actually contribute.
Yep, well said. Number four, this is one of my favorite Indiegogo features, and you don't really see this anywhere else, even online and things like that. Very, very rarely is this even used in e-commerce, and it is fantastic. It's the ability to have secret perks. So secret perks, as you can see here from the example, you're able to get a better discount. And it's what a secret perk is it's a custom link. A lot of times it's used in, for example, advertising, or if you have like a VIP community and you want them to get the best absolute discount, you don't want to list that on the page, you create a secret perk that you can give to them or to that community. You can also give this perk to influencers, for example, in order to benefit their community or give them another reason to share or to purchase. And so a secret perk is super cool because it's a custom URL. And if somebody leaves, if they just bounce and they didn't save that URL, they won't get access to it. So it really establishes that scarcity, that urgency, as well as using the again, both of the two strategies that we talked about, discounting and price anchoring, in order to get people to purchase immediately. So it's really incredibly effective. And if you're not using secret perks to drive traffic to your campaign, you absolutely should be.
And it also helps as a tool to understand and keep track of conversions from certain channels that are typically hard to measure conversions from. One example for that is a PR article. So if you've got The Verge covering the launch of your campaign, you can give The Verge readers with an exclusive secret perk link so that you can keep track of how many readers from The Verge actually ended up contributing towards your campaign.
Yeah, that's a great tactic, Enzo. So next up, we've got add-ons. So it's really cool here. You can see eWheels was a campaign that we launched. We had like a $250,000 day one, and one of the things that contributed to that was the add-ons. You want to talk more about this, Enzo?
Yes, actually, there's a comment here asking if you can unlock a secret perk as a stretch goal. Add-ons are actually a good way for you to provide as a stretch goal. So the way that add-ons work is you have the ability to add accessories to your product. In this particular case, it seems like we've got an electric scooter here, or an electric board.
It's a smart caddy. It turns any golf cart into a smart golf cart that'll follow you around.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. And so obviously with these type of electric mobility products, an extra battery would be useful for the backer, or some accessories, in this case, a bag. So you're able to add on extra perks and use that in your checkout process, so that you won't think of it as a cart, so that you don't have to create multiple contributions in order to contribute towards the add-on perks as well. And how that works as a stretch goal is we typically recommend doing a stretch goal in the middle of the campaign, when the initial momentum of the campaign has sort of slowed down. And a stretch goal is the ability for you to reward all of the backers in the community by unlocking an extra add-on perk, or an extra color, or a bonus perk, once collectively we can all reach a higher goal on the campaign. So you would then encourage all your backers to go out to their friends, their community, to share the campaign. And if we're able to raise another $1 million, for example, you will unlock the ability for them to contribute towards this add-on perk, or a different color, vice versa.
Yep, absolutely. I love these things. It's so funny. The very first campaign we ever worked on was the EcoCube. And of course, you can do add-ons in your post-campaign survey, but of course it's even more effective when they're hot and they're able to add on immediately. That's something that's really important. But on EcoCube, it was like the add-ons that we saw on that, we literally doubled the amount of money raised by upselling all sorts of other cool, fun, like add-ons to that product. So don't sleep on add-ons, because they can really, really impact your average order value.
Also, if you've got products that require refills, add-ons are another good way to use tool to use to provide that as a perk. And anything where you can get recurring revenue, for example, a subscription for air or for filters for your device, that can certainly help with regards to adding more to the bottom line.
Yep, and as you can see here from this image, discounting is also being used. So again, we're taking these tools that we're teaching you guys today, and we're reusing them again and again and again. And you see that even being used on the add-on front is, if people want to get an extra battery down the road, they could, but if they bought it now, they'll get a better discount. So again, more cool strategies and tools there.
That's exactly right.
So next, I want to dig into strategies to maximize revenue potential. So these are like macro, other strategies that might not necessarily fit into those two categories that we talked about earlier. And the first one we have is Indiegogo promotions. And so Enzo, I'd love for you to dig into that, even talk about your digital services as well.
Totally. So everything that we've covered so far has been talking about the preparation for the launch of the campaign. And again, we drilled down on these marketing elements because it's so important for you to build the momentum initially when you launch the campaign. So when you hit the launch button, the momentum coming towards the campaign will typically come from your community building efforts. which will then get amplified further through those optimized conversion rates and ads that you're running. And then hopefully you've got a few PR articles that will help amplify further as well through validation. But at that point, Indiegogo will also help to actually promote the campaign throughout our channels. And by working with our team, we can also guarantee some promotions upfront before you launch the campaign. We have multiple different channels on our platform for promotions, including our Indiegogo newsletter, which is our best performing promotional channel. We've got our social media pages, our Instagram, our Facebook. We're doing Instagram takeovers now, and that's been doing really well. We're doing Indiegogo Instagram TV channels where we're doing programs to highlight certain campaigns that are currently live on the platform. And then, of course, our own Indiegogo website, where we continue to promote campaigns throughout our front page, carousel, campaign collections, which will then help to amplify campaigns' momentum even further. So that's promotional channels. Within the Indiegogo platform, we also have an internal digital ads team. And their role is to help manage your ad budget alongside LaunchBoom. But our proprietary strategy is to target specific lookalike audiences who have previously backed similar products on our platform, because we've been collecting data over the past 10 years in terms of who are the backers that typically contribute towards outdoor products or smart home products or electric bicycles. So we're able to retarget those individuals specifically and make sure that they're aware of your campaign when it's live.
Yeah, and that's the perfect segue. And again, I'll talk about promotions and I'll segue into that digital services side. Absolutely. We've worked on so many campaigns with Enzo and the Indiegogo team, and we've taken advantage of those Indiegogo promotions, and they're awesome. So definitely talk to whoever you're talking to at Indiegogo, definitely bring that up and ask them about it. And if you're not talking to somebody from Indiegogo, talk to Indiegogo. So again, we're going to go over some contact information here in just a second so that you can get in touch with them and they can walk you through all the different promotion and digital service opportunities. So again, going into what we were just talking about, which is the digital marketing services, owning the noise. And this is where LaunchBoom really, really shines, and shines so well alongside Indiegogo. Think about when somebody is thinking about purchasing a product and they're thinking about, for example, let's say they want to buy a pair of headphones. They're going to do a ton of research. They're going to look it up on Google. They're going to watch YouTube videos. They're going to see what their friends have on Facebook. And so owning the noise, being able to show up, especially from an advertising perspective, is so important. And the thing that Enzo didn't talk about in terms of why the digital services are important on the Indiegogo side is the ads come from Indiegogo. So that's the other thing that's super cool, is like it'll actually show up as like being from Indiegogo. And so on the LaunchBoom front, again, we specialize in having launch booms, right? All of our campaigns hit their goal within the first 24 to 48 hours and we blow it up. But the thing that a lot of people don't know about us as well is we also have a program called Add-Boom. So whether you work with us on the launch of the campaign or not, we also have the ability to come in if you're on Indiegogo, because our Add-Boom program is only for Indiegogo and it's exclusive. And we can come in and we can also augment your advertising efforts. So we can come in and support with driving those sales. And we're seeing a ton of incredible results there. We're seeing anywhere from 3 to, we've got one campaign right now that has an 18x return on ad spend. And this is exciting too, because we're also running those ads alongside Indiegogo. So we're not exclusive in that sense. And the reason why I love that is because it helps us own the noise. If you're getting ads coming from Indiegogo, you're getting ads from the client, and then we run all of our ads through an influencer platform called Tom's Finds. If you haven't seen that, hi guys, I'm Tom. Tom's Finds, and go check it out. And if you're interested in getting a free feature on that platform, you can email me. Again, I'll put my email address in here later. But yeah, so we run it as an influencer. You've got Indiegogo, you've got your brand. And so this whole like perfect storm gets created where we're truly owning the noise. No matter where somebody's looking, they're learning about your product. And it's coming from a number of different sources. So it also creates almost like it's like a real trackable PR in a way, right? It seems like it's PR, but it's not. It's advertising. And it's incredibly effective. And when we see that happen, a lot of times we'll see Indiegogo's ads even perform better, and our ads perform really well and better as everybody's advertising together. So rising tide lifts all ships, and highly recommend that. And so if you've got questions about digital services, again, talk to Indiegogo, talk to LaunchBoom. We can support you with how to own that noise while you're live. Anything else you want to add to that, Enzo?
That's right. And just beyond ads themselves, with the kind of noise that we want to make sure you have at the timing of launch is to also cover all other channels throughout email, throughout your own website, social media, PR, as Tom has mentioned. And essentially, we want to make sure that everyone knows about your campaign when you launch it throughout the media, because we know that backers typically need a few touch points before they decide to contribute. So if a backer were to see their email, the launch announcement email in the morning, they may not directly decide to contribute at that time, but they go to their Facebook and they see an ad on it that reminds them. And then they go to their favorite blog. There's an article that announces the launch of the campaign. These are the constant noise that you want to make throughout the duration of the launch of the campaign to make sure that they eventually contribute.
Yep, absolutely, Enzo. So next is Indiegogo InDemand. This is, or actually, you want to hit this one, Enzo?
Sure, yeah. InDemand is a wonderful tool that we've been growing over the past few years. And it's essentially a continuation platform for your crowdfunding campaign. So crowdfunding campaigns on Indiegogo can run up to 60 days. But once you're done with that crowdfunding campaign, if you wish to raise more money or you have the ability to manufacture more units, you can continue over to InDemand seamlessly without having to change the URL. All you have to do is you opt into it. You can stick around there for about 2 weeks just to make sure you capture all of the residual momentum from your crowdfunding campaign. Or we've seen campaigns stay on there for 2 to 3 years just because it acts as an extra channel for them to continue selling their product. We've had tremendous success on InDemand. Over the past 1 year, we've had around $100 million in funds raised total through InDemand campaigns. And we continue to grow that part of our business as we move on.
Yeah, I highly recommend it because it's important to keep the lights on, right? Is you do your crowdfunding campaign and then what, right? It's going to take you 6 months to deliver, and e-commerce pre-orders don't work as well as they do on Indiegogo. So that's actually like fun fact. So like anecdotal data here is we've tested a ton. We do e-commerce. So LaunchBoom does e-commerce as well. And we've tested pre-orders on our e-commerce channels on Shopify, and we've tested it against Indiegogo InDemand. And InDemand wins every single time. Like it's not even fair. Just because people are used to pre-ordering on Indiegogo. And so I highly recommend it's like a no-brainer. If you're not doing Indiegogo InDemand, I'm gonna be really upset. I'm gonna cry for you and your potential backers that could be buying your product because it's a must for every crowdfunding campaign. Even if you launch on Kickstarter, going over to InDemand is a must. And there is benefits to launching on Indiegogo first. Is that it's cheaper if you launch on Indiegogo than go to InDemand versus if you launch on Kickstarter first. It is less expensive. Do you want to touch on that real quick, Enzo?
Yeah, not only is it cheaper, but campaigns that initially launch on Indiegogo and continue over to InDemand after raise on average 125% more on InDemand versus campaigns that initially launch on Kickstarter and come to InDemand after. So definitely a benefit there, because the reason why that is that you're not retargeting your communities to a different URL. You're really just seamlessly transitioning your crowdfunding campaign over to InDemand, where you can continue to raise funding for as long as you want. So the URL stays the same. Your community is already familiar with your campaign page and the platform. They're already signed up on Indiegogo. You won't have to spend more money to retarget those ads and conversion rates.
Absolutely, well said, Enzo. And so yeah, Indiegogo InDemand, it's awesome. Do it. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you're on there and you need support with advertising, talk to both Indiegogo and LaunchBoom. So last but definitely not least is learn from failure. That is like the number one, especially crowdfunding, new entrepreneurs, all of that stuff. This is so unbelievably important. I can't tell you how many campaigns, will initially launch. They might even fail. They won't let's say they didn't work with an agency. They tried to do it on their own. They didn't watch the webinars that you guys are watching right now, right? They didn't invest in themselves. And that's a huge shout out to everybody on here right now, because that's what you're doing is you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your business, and you're investing in your community. So well done. And these people didn't do that, and they launch, and then they fail, and that's okay. It's not bad. It's okay to fail, but it's important to learn from that failure, right? It's like success is not derived from how many times you succeed, because you usually only succeed once. It's your ability to fail quickly and fail fast. So the more you fail, the more successful you will be as an entrepreneur. And so with that in mind, I mean, we've had campaigns on the TestBoom front. We've had campaigns that have gone through our TestBoom program, failed, went back to the drawing board, worked with manufacturers, changed up the product, came back, passed, and then raised 6-7 figures. And we've had other campaigns that have launched on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and then failed, came to us. We worked with them to the same product. We worked with them to reposition their product, rebuild their messaging, got them in touch with Indiegogo. They worked closely with Indiegogo, and then crushed it and absolutely dominated. A great example of that would be Roto Farm. If you guys haven't seen that campaign, that was a campaign that initially failed and then didn't. Another great example of that, if you guys I'm sure everybody here, or a lot of people have heard of the Coolest Cooler. That originally launched and then failed, and then they launched it again and then had a $13 million campaign. So again, learning from that failure, learning what works, what didn't work, is so important.
And the crowdfunding model is built to learn from your failures, right? I think if we think of historically of how big companies have been able to bring product to market, they had to do a lot of R&D testing before they manufacture their product. And they only learn if they had failed in market validation once those products are in big box stores. So through this crowdfunding process, you can actually learn from your failure before you have to do the capital intensive process of manufacturing your product. And so by all means, through your learnings, we hope that you can improve upon your offering and come back to us to see if we can launch a second or third campaign based on those improvements. Going back to the theme of this webinar, which is how to raise 7 figures on Indiegogo, there's no shortcut to it. And I would say that more likely than not, your first campaign may not be a 7-figure campaign. But if you continue to learn from your failures and you continue to improve upon them, your second or third one may be.
Yeah, and to go into kind of like what does that percentage look like? Less than 1% of 1% hits 7 figures. So I don't know if you guys know that, if you can fathom how tiny that is. So almost 1%, so a little more than 1% breaks 6 figures. 1% of 1% hits 7 figures. So is it doable? Absolutely. And I'm going to show you guys some examples of campaigns that did, right? And these are campaigns that launched with LaunchBoom, end to end, crushed it. And so I'm just going to blaze through these really quickly. These are all examples of campaigns that have launched in the last few years that have absolutely crushed it, raised over $1 million, and took everything that we're talking about here and applied it and saw that success.
That's right. And all of the strategies that we went over today is scalable, right? So you can take the same strategies to achieve goals that are not as high as 7 figures and use the same kind of strategies to achieve success. Exactly.
So with that, and we're now moving into the later portion of this today. We are getting pretty close on time here. Again, Enzo and I, we've discussed this ahead of time. We're okay with running a little bit over. So get those questions in and go ahead and upvote those questions so that we can identify which questions are most important. And so if you're asking questions in chat, make sure that they're getting into the Ask a Question tool because that's what we're going to use to answer our questions. And any questions we don't answer, we can always answer later via email, but we'll talk about that. But before we get into the Q&A section, let's dig into a little bit of a COVID-19 update. Enzo, I know you guys published some really great content on this. I know LaunchBoom, we've got a COVID-19 resource center that I'll post. But can you share a little bit about what you're seeing on the Indiegogo platform? How's everything going?
Yeah, we're as a crowdfunding platform, we're a two-sided marketplace in that we address both the backer community and then the entrepreneur community as well. From a backer standpoint, year over year, we've actually seen growth on the Indiegogo platform. What I mean by that is that traffic has gone up 14% from the same time last year. And also overall funds raised per campaign has gone up 24% compared to the same time last year. Now, that being said, however, we have seen some entrepreneurs delay due to supply chain issues. But again, just as a reminder from earlier, you can make sure to set the expectation with regards to when backers are going to get their products through the Perk structure, right? So keep that in mind. If you are experiencing delays because your factories are mandated to produce other products, or you're having issues at the border with regards to getting your products through, just make sure you communicate those delays directly to your campaigners, but it should not avoid you or stop you from launching your campaign. I would just add to that we also have a strategic partnership with a company called EasyShip that helps with our distribution and fulfillment for our partners. So if you are having issues with manufacturing or distribution, please reach out to us because we can make introductions to the best service providers in the industry who can help with that.
Yeah, we actually just did a webinar with them actually talking about COVID-19 and shipping.
Yeah.
And so if you guys are interested in learning more about that, you absolutely can. And then on the LaunchBoom front, I've posted a link to our COVID-19 Resource Center. We're going to continue to post articles and information to support entrepreneurs just like you guys to better navigate this. But I'm reiterating exactly what Enzo's saying. If anything, now is more a time to launch, because a lot of times people are afraid to purchase on e-commerce because they're not used to, delays or pre-orders or things like that. But we're seeing all of our Indiegogo campaigns absolutely crush it right now. The number one reason for that is actually because advertising costs are way down. A lot of the big, of course, restaurants, but big time, big industry spenders aren't spending. And so there's a lot more inventory on Facebook. And so our cost to acquire is a lot lower. And we're seeing a lot more campaigns pass test boom, more campaigns move into full program, more campaigns raise 6 and 7 figures. And so we're crushing it right now. And this is incredible. Indiegogo and Kickstarter were actually created during the last recession. And so, which I don't know if you guys all know that. And again, this is a fantastic, I feel blessed to be in this industry and to be in it kind of feels bad sometimes to be in an industry that's actually thriving and doing really well. When I have a lot of friends in other industries that aren't. And so definitely take advantage of the situation in a positive way. Again, communication is super important. Doing the right thing is super important. But know that when it comes to launching crowdfunding campaigns, there's no better time than now. And I highly, highly recommend it. The only campaigns that we have delayed on our end or have been a little bit more hesitant to launch are campaigns specifically in the travel field. So those we've been a little bit more cautious about. We did see a little bit of a spike in cost to acquire there. That's the only industry that we are a little bit more hesitant on. And know that too, if you're working with LaunchBoom or whoever you're working with, or you're running your own ads, you can look at your metrics, make a data-based decision. If you're seeing, because for us, there's some campaign like Primo Ager is a prime example, where it's a really expensive, high-end, meat aging product that we were afraid to launch, but we did, and they're well over 200,000 at this point. It was incredibly successful. And we did that because we looked at our advertising and we were able to identify that we were not seeing a dip in cost to acquire.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing as well within the digital services team on our end.
Awesome. So without further ado, guys, I know this is the part that I'm most excited about is the Q&A portion of today. I do want to give you guys my personal email address in case you have questions. If you guys want to work with LaunchBoom, whether you want to do a test boom, full full program launch on Indiegogo, or work with us on Add-Boom or e-commerce, definitely get in touch. You can hit the schedule a call button with LaunchBoom. It's that green button in the center to book a call with our team. Or if you have any questions or follow-up questions, like your questions don't get answered today, feel free to reach out to me. If I can't answer your question, I'll get you in contact with somebody who can. But there you go. And yeah, and that's the other thing too is some other kind of, and then there's Enzo's as well. So reach out to Enzo, all that fun stuff. The only announcement that I have on our side, or resource that I can provide you all with, is one, we actually just released an incredible book on crowdfunding. I'll post a link to that shortly. And we actually just relaunched LaunchBoom Academy. It's called LaunchBoom Academy 2020. If you can't afford to work with a full service agency, first thing you should do is call Enzo, because Indiegogo provides a lot of support. Number two is you should sign up for LaunchBoom Academy. It's a great program. We've had a ton of success. We've had campaigns come out of there that have raised 6 figures, no problem. Again, it's more of a like sub 6-figure thing. If you want to raise more than 6 figures, I'd recommend working with an agency. But it's a fantastic program. And if you schedule a call with LaunchBoom or shoot me an email saying you'd like to learn more about LaunchBoom Academy, I can get you in touch with our product launch specialists that can walk you through that program. Enzo, anything on your end that you'd like to add, how they can get in touch with you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, any campaigners who are looking to launch a campaign on Indiegogo can feel free to reach out to me directly on this email address that I just provided on the webinar. And yeah, we can make sure to get you guys set up for success, connect you with a campaign strategist to review your campaign and provide feedback, and get you those guaranteed promotions when you launch it.
Super important. And for anyone who wants to pick up a copy of the book, crowdfunded by our CEO, Mark Pacoda, it's incredible, super in-depth and detailed. I posted an Amazon link there for you guys. But yeah, well, thank you, Enzo. Let's dig into some questions here.
Sounds good.
There's a lot of questions. We've got 41 so far. So again, guys, if you could do us all a favor and upvote some stuff. We're gonna dig in. I'm gonna do my best to kind of like MC this and get through these as quickly as possible. If you don't get your questions answered, shoot us an email and we can talk to you offline. So first question. How much funds are required for ads required to raise 100,000 to 200,000? So for that, again, I would say, as I said before, 10% of what you want to raise. So minimum is a minimum. So if you want to raise 200,000, minimum is $20,000 in ad spend. That's kind of my feedback. That's kind of like a tendency that I've seen. I've seen campaigns raise 6 figures without any ad spend. Totally doable. But if you want to like guarantee success, that would be my answer. Anything you want to add to that, Enzo?
I would agree with that. Generally, 10% is a good number on average to put aside for your advertising budget. But specific to the campaign that you're launching, you'll only know how much you should budget for ads once you actually start that testing and optimization process.
100%.
Again, testing with just a few dollars to understand what your conversion rates are. And then you can take that conversion rate to help you identify how much is the total amount that you should be spending for ads if you're looking to achieve a certain goal through it.
100%, Enzo. Yeah, you got to make data-backed decisions. It's so hard to kind of like spitball that without knowing what your cost to acquire is. Yeah. Next question. If my funding goal is not met and funds are returned, when can I try again? Can I use the name/info of those who sent funds the last time?
You can certainly use the name and the info that you use that you collected from the last time. In terms of when you'll be able to relaunch again, it's really any time. You can relaunch as soon as you want. However, we would typically recommend that you take the time to identify what went wrong with the original campaign. Again, learn from those mistakes and do some retesting, do some more community building, take the time and perhaps improve upon your offering.
Yep, absolutely. And maybe even continue to educate yourself more. Again, you're already doing that by being on this webinar today, but like whether it's joining LaunchBoom Academy, reading Crowdfunded, continuing to consume, Indiegogo produces a ton of great content, and so does LaunchBoom. And so continuing to consume that content to kind of figure out what worked and what didn't work is what I'd recommend. What I would recommend if you were one of our clients is, again, go through TestBoom again. go through TestBoom, see kind of like from what is the problem, and that's something that LaunchBoom really, really specializes in, is we test hundreds of projects a year before they even get to crowdfunding. And we do a great job giving them real data so that they know what worked, what didn't work.
And what are some mechanics that you use with regards to TestBoom? Does surveys, do you get involved with sending out surveys to backers for that, Tom?
Yeah, so if they've had a failed campaign, surveys are definitely impactful. Surveys are a big one. The number one thing that we like to play with, though, is advertising. So what we'll do there is, again, use that reservation funnel to test different price points, to test anything and everything that we can. We're testing colors, we're testing everything. And so using that kind of cost to acquire as our like key metric is what's given us the best results, because sometimes like we'll survey and everyone will say they want everything in red, but they really want it, but we see the metrics and it's actually in black. So that's why we really like to make sure that we're backing the choices that we're making. Surveys are great, but of course with the advertising spend to identify what worked and what didn't work. Next question, what is your cooperation model? You want to go first, Enzo?
I'm not sure what the individual meant by cooperation.
I think it's like, what does it cost to be on Indiegogo?
Okay, yeah. Doesn't cost anything upfront to prepare for the launch of the campaign. Again, part of our work is to consult and provide you with the support to make sure that you launch a proper campaign, because we only make money when you guys do. But once you do launch the campaign on our platform, we take 5% of all funds raised as a fee. And then if you choose to take on some of the premium level promotions as well as digital services, that's going to come at an extra cost as well, in addition to the 5% fee. There is a 3% credit card transaction fee that goes directly to our payment portal, Stripe. And then beyond that, if you were to go into InDemand from a different platform other than Indiegogo crowdfunding, the platform fee does go up to 8% versus 5% if you launch on Indiegogo and continue over to InDemand.
Awesome. And then to answer that and to follow up with Sean's question is, so on the LaunchBoom side, we've got a ton of different services. So I'm not going to go into detail with every single one and the price points. Usually it's some sort of upfront fee with a percentage of total raised, or performance. Again, it really depends on kind of if we're talking Add-Boom, ScaleBoom, LaunchBoom, all that kind of stuff. So talk to our product launch specialists. They can go through our all of our pricing models. But to answer Sean's question, which is how does LaunchBoom and Indiegogo work together? I can answer this first, and then Enzo can dig in. For us, like to share a great example, Roto Farm is a fantastic example that's really relevant right now. They launched on Indiegogo. They failed. I think Indiegogo actually sent. I'm not sure if you guys sent us that lead, but you sent them to us. We sat down with them. We helped them kind of revise their messaging, positioning. We did a TestBoom campaign. They passed. It was really successful. And then we did the pre-launch work, helped them launch on Indiegogo. And then once we launched on Indiegogo, the Indiegogo team came in, supplied again everything that Enzo talked about. They crushed it. We continued to drive spend. We crushed it. Campaign raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was super successful. And you guys recently did an interview with them on Instagram. So that's kind of like what it looks like. Is like LaunchBoom's real specialty here is in that pre-launch. I would consider ourselves to be the best, if not one of the best pre-launch crowdfunding agencies. And then of course, being able to support with moving that into the full campaign and everything else. Anything else you want to add to that, Enzo?
Yeah, no, just to summarize, we consult on the marketing initiatives that we've gone over earlier in this webinar, and LaunchBoom are one of the best teams out there who can execute on those marketing initiatives. So we work together to make sure to maximize the potential of your campaign.
Yeah, it's funny, I'm super grateful for Enzo and their team, because most of our, or a lot of our leads come from Indiegogo itself. And I'm super, super blessed, super grateful to be working so closely with such a great team.
And just a note on that, we really refer service providers on the basis of merit, because LaunchBoom has really done a good job in supporting our campaigns through the right approach, this data-driven approach that's so important, right? There are a lot of agencies out there that I'm sure some of you have been contacted through that don't do don't do the right approach to crowdfunding launches. They don't take the data-driven approach. So as much as possible, the reasons why we're recommending these services is because teams like LaunchBoom have done a tremendous job in helping our campaigners not only fundraise the amount that they're looking to fundraise, but also learn from the process and get some insights into what are the drivers of demand for their brand and product.
Awesome. Thank you, Enzo. Really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Next question, how's the COVID-19 crisis affected crowdfunding? How's it affected advertising for campaigns? I think we answered that question for you. If we didn't, feel free to ask again. Next question, how bad is it to fail at a campaign? So bad that it's not worth trying again, or not bad at all because you can still learn lots by failing? Again, I'm going to blaze through this. I think we answered that question already. Definitely fail hard, fail fast. It's totally okay. Next question, how to raise money via Indiegogo when your business is located in a country not eligible for posting a campaign directly? Enzo, that one's for you.
So for campaigns that we are not currently, for countries that we are not currently supporting, entrepreneurs from there can create a US entity by using services like Stripe Atlas. By connecting with myself and my team, we can actually provide you with a link to use Stripe Atlas to create that entity at a discount, at a discounted price as well. And once you create the US entity, typically it's a Delaware corporation, you would then need to create a US bank account as well. And typically Stripe Atlas refers our campaigners over to Silicon Valley Bank or a service called Mercury.com. So you can still launch, you'll just need to create an entity based in the United States and a bank account as well.
Awesome, great answer. I was about to say the exact same thing. Next is, what is the best approach to create a successful in-demand campaign for a documentary film, given that you've completed the film, but want to use the campaign to self-distribute it? I'm gonna leave that one for you, Enzo, because unfortunately on the LaunchBoom side, we do not have a lot of experience on the film front.
Yeah, the question you should ask yourself, Waleed, is how can you monetize the campaign, right? And typically with a documentary film, you're including things like tickets to the opening party, or tickets to, in this case, during the COVID and social distancing, perhaps a virtual a showing of the movie. Other than that, again, thinking back throughout the exclusivity element, how can you reward backers on your campaign with exclusivity? Perhaps it's recognition for being able to back the campaign and a supporter of the film and documentary. And by recognition, what I mean by that is you can perhaps mention their name in the credits or on your own website. Swag can also be one way to provide a monetization for your campaign. Things like perhaps sign movie posters by the individuals that are in the documentary, and then access to the team, right? Perhaps for those higher level contributions, they can come to the shoot day and be in the background, behind the scenes member of the team, or they can become an extra as part of the film and documentary. So these are some of the ways that you can monetize the campaign to reward backers with the level of exclusivity that the general population isn't going to get.
Awesome, great answer, Enzo. Next question, can you give some specific metrics to use when in the testing phase? Click-through rates, conversion rates, cost per lead, etc., and benchmarks for each. I can hit that as quickly as I can. I built out our digital marketing kind of strategy and team back in the day, but it's tough because it's relevant to your product, right? So like, what's good for $1,000 product might be terrible for a $10 product. And so identifying kind of like what you're looking for is really important. But just generally speaking, just like shooting from the hip metrics, you know, is like a click-through rate of like over 2% is good. Conversion rate over 20% on a landing page is good. E-commerce conversion rate of 2 to 4% is good. Cost per lead, you're looking for as close to $1 or under $1 if possible. Under $1.50 would be considered good. Cost per reservation or cost per acquisition would be completely relevant on what good is for you. If you've got a $100 product, $30 cost, $30 cost to acquire sounds pretty good to me. But again, it depends on kind of what you're looking for. If you'd like more information on that, I'd highly recommend talking to one of our product launch specialists. We've got a lot of really good blog posts. We're going to be doing another webinar on advertising coming up here in the next couple weeks. So subscribe to us on Crowdcast, and hopefully we'll be able to get that answered for you.
Yeah, I would agree to that. We can always provide you with general average numbers, but specific to your campaign, you're going to want to do actually execute on the efforts to determine what's the best rates for you.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Next question. When you're testing your product or service, how would you prevent your product/idea to be stolen before you even launch your campaign? You want to hit that one first, or do you want me to knock it out?
This one's a bit tricky to balance. We certainly don't recommend divulging all elements of your products, but perhaps an image of the product without going into details about the features or the pricing can be useful for you to just tease out the product ahead of the launch of the campaign. But also keep in mind that if your product is that easy to steal the idea from, then you might want to think of a better offering that protects your IP a bit more.
Yeah, you're probably going to get ripped off either way. So
yeah,
it's a market fast. No, I'm just kidding. We just talked about this. I just did a webinar with the CEO of GoSun. We talked about like product manufacturing and product development, building an 8-figure brand, and really like the most important thing here is like don't let this paralyze you. I can't tell you how many brands are like afraid to do pre-launch, afraid to get started, and honestly like use it as an excuse to get started. If somebody's going to rip you off, if a big business is going to rip you off, you're going to get ripped off. You're going to go to court and it's going to suck. So like, it's just kind of like an inevitability. And like, of course, like putting barriers in place and moats, like, patents and things like that. But if a company really wants to rip you off, they'll break your patent and they'll rip you off, or you'll get a Chinese knockoff. It's going to happen. It just comes down to like, how fast can you move? What is your moat and how good is your community? If your community is really solid, then of course you're going to do great. And you'll have to deal with kind of like the repercussions of building a brand. But I would say the big thing there is like, don't let that paralyze you. Move forward.
And to that point, also, imitation just means that you perhaps have landed on a really great product with a big audience that you can still, that untapped potential that you can still address with your product. So double down on it, compete.
Yep, exactly. Next one is Indiegogo planning to add more features for campaign page customization, easy example 3D showcase, different widgets, etc.?
Interesting. We're always welcoming feedback from our entrepreneurs and our backers. So if you've got some ideas that you think would improve our platform offering and our product offering a bit better, feel free to reach out to me and I'll relay that to the product team. There are a few things in the works that we're currently pilot testing. I can't share with you publicly yet, but you'll soon hear from us with regards to new products that are coming out. And I am very much excited for it. I guess one tease that I can say is that we're looking to focus more on building and nurturing a big community of first adopters within our platform through the new products that we are making.
Cool. I can't wait to learn more. That was a great question, Albert. Next up here, our product is a music wellness therapy for mental wellness tech. We have our product ready to commercialize, a $43 trillion market global. I'd like to bring that to Indiegogo to discuss about our seed round fundraise. I don't know if that's like a question. I would say like, if you've got a really cool product, then like absolutely talk to Enzo, talk to LaunchBoom. Let's launch it on Indiegogo.
Yeah, looking forward to learn more about the product, and we can get you connected with institutional VCs as well if that's something that you're looking for to begin with before you start on the crowdfunding campaign.
Yep. Next question: does crowdfunding campaign work more successfully for products on Indiegogo platform than services? Absolutely, 100%, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, products, because typically backers are on Indiegogo are contributing towards the product and that they're looking to get at a certain time in the future. If you're looking to crowdfund a service, I would just make sure that you can provide that service quickly, right after the campaign is over. And again, going back to similarly to the documentary version of the campaign, you want to understand how you can monetize that service, right? Is it a subscription model? You pay $20 to get access to your service for a year. That way you can provide that as a perk, and that's recurring revenue for you as well.
Yep. I'm scrolling through here. Here's a question. Due to Facebook ad policy, we haven't been able to market our smart air mask product on Facebook or Instagram. Any advice how to work around that issue? We've seen various other companies market mask products. Not sure why they won't accept ours. We've had very good results and feedback on our product and think it would be really useful to customers, especially right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Facebook's policy is right now around promoting these type of campaigns. But what I'm aware of is that the federal government is scrutinizing over these type of ads at this time. So it's coming from the government level. And I believe it's not just Facebook that is limiting.
It's Google too, 100%.
Yeah. And on our platform, we are also limiting the amount of campaigns that we're not limiting, but restricting the promotions of campaigns that have any claims of sterilization for this current time. And that's just because, unfortunately, there are some bad players in the industry who are making up certifications, who are making up statements that are not backed by science. So we just want to overall protect our platform and our backers from those type of campaigns.
Yeah, or selling fake products. Yeah, there's a lot of like really cool things, that you can do that we can definitely talk about. My recommendation here would actually be to like sell a different product and then use like email marketing or something like that to then upsell the masks. That'd be my move. But there's a lot of different things that we can potentially do if we talk more about that. And that's the other thing too, is they're not okay with medical masks. So as long as you're not a medical mask, ads will work, especially if you've got a good Facebook rep. We are currently running ads for campaigns that are not that. So,
yeah, there are some nuances with the type of masks that we can promote on our platform versus the ones that we cannot. But if you work with our team, we can certainly review your content and make sure that it's in compliance with our terms of use so that we are able to promote it.
Yep. Let's go through some more of these here. How to be featured on the Indiegogo homepage.
Yes. So the promotional channels that are on the Indiegogo homepage are a form of premium promotions on our platform. So above the 5% fee that we take from just launching a campaign, we charge an additional 10% for the contributions coming from those premium promotions only. So if you're generating your own conversions from your own ads, that stays the same at 5%. Just contributions coming from the premium promotions go up to 15% overall. They do come with a benchmark as well. We typically only promote campaigns on the front page carousel once they've raised a minimum of $350,000. However, we can work with you on a case-to-case basis to see if we can lower that benchmark.
Awesome. Next question. Can you start a campaign if you are pre-revenue and the company sells B2B services? This question for you.
This one's a tough one. We don't typically recommend launching a campaign for B2B services unless it's more of a cause-based campaign. Perhaps you're launching a product that's going to be for the medical industry and you're looking to get donations to support the development of the product. But by and large, crowdfunding on Indiegogo is made for consumer hardware products, as well as consumer-related campaigns, the likes of documentaries, things like that. For B2B, I would recommend looking into equity crowdfunding as a source of that, which unfortunately we no longer support on Indiegogo.
On the LaunchBoom side, we do, but not primarily for products though. So, but we can get you in contact. If you reach out to me saying you're looking for equity crowdfunding, or reach out to the LaunchBoom team, we can get you in contact with a platform that can support you there. Next question. What do backers usually search for? What kinds of products do they look for? That's a cool Indiegogo question.
I don't know off the top of my head what backers typically search for on our platform. I know that currently electric mobility is a really big category within the platform. We've done really well in launching electric bicycles, electric scooters. But beyond that, the smart home category and the outdoor category both continue to do well. Audio products tend to do well as well because they have a typically lower risk with regards to manufacturing and fulfillment. But specifically what they're searching for, I'll actually, if you contact me, I can get back to you on that specifically.
Yeah, generally, I mean, a lot of times people are just, my experience as a backer, I've personally backed over 145 campaigns, crowdfunding campaigns, personally. And so what I usually look for as a backer is I'm just browsing. I'm looking for I'm usually on the popular tab and I'm just looking for cool new stuff. And I'm looking for what stands out to me. I'm not using it like an Amazon platform or something where I'm like, oh man, I need new cookware, so I'm going to go find cookware. It's more of kind of like a product discovery site where I'm not necessarily going in with something I'm looking for. I'm just kind of browsing. There's a question about COVID-19. I believe we answered all of these questions. If you have further questions on this, just go ahead and comment in chat, actually, just to let us know that if there's something that you'd like us to dig into more on the COVID situation. Just to, again, summarize the sensitive categories of products that I'd recommend to postpone. Again, I wouldn't even necessarily recommend anything postponed, but the thing that I would potentially consider would be in the travel space. So for example, we've got kind of a travel planner. We've put that one on ice for a little bit. But those would be the things that I would be thinking about. Next question. Is there any good online guide that bundles the steps for a successful crowdfunding campaign? Absolutely. So there's Crowdfunded the book. It's on Amazon. Just look up Crowdfunded. Again, I'll repost the link for you. That's by far, it's an incredible resource. We've also got LaunchBoom Academy. We've got our blog. If you go to launchboom.com and click on blog, we've got a ton of really, really great content. And then we've also got LaunchBoom Academy, which you'd have to talk to one of our product launch specialists. So if you just apply or schedule a call with LaunchBoom, we can walk you through all that stuff. And then I'm sure Enzo has a ton of cool resources too. Yeah,
on an Indiegogo side, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom of our page, you'll see a link to our Indiegogo Education Center. That's where all of our supplementary resource materials are at. We also have an Indiegogo blog where we continuously write about the latest news. So feel free to review all of those to learn more about our platform.
Awesome. Next question. Why is Indiegogo the best platform for launching a technology product in the computer space?
I would answer that question with regards to our comprehensive solution, right? We have the most comprehensive offering with regards to supporting campaigners from the point of ideation all the way to the point that they have products in big box stores. Within that process are some proprietary services such as Indiegogo InDemand, the ability for you to plug in Facebook pixel tracking in order to support you on throughout the duration of your campaign. And beyond the services that we provide, we can also introduce you with service providers that are the best in the industry, including Aero Electronics to help you manufacture your product, BackerKit to help distribute and fulfill your product once the campaign is over, BackerKit to actually organize your contributions once the campaign is over, and EasyShip to help distribute and fulfill your products once it's ready.
Awesome. Next question, is there a good time to already launch an outdoor/beach product? So my recommendation is sell the product. So have the crowdfunding campaign when the product is most relevant. So for example, if you want to sell an outdoor beach product when people are going outside or going to the beach, not necessarily when you would deliver, but like when people are thinking about that. So for example, if you're selling like an outdoor beach product, you would want to sell that in like spring or summer. You would not want to sell that in winter. People don't really think far in advance. They think about like where they're at now. Like for example, we launched a air conditioning unit in the middle of a heat wave and it crushed. Whereas like Cool is Cooler, when they first launched, they launched in the middle of winter. It did not do well. So again, launching like when the product is most relevant is what's the best thing to do. For the community, do you do surveys as well? I assume that's for you, Enzo?
We don't conduct surveys, but we can guide you on how to conduct those surveys through different services. And I believe LaunchBoom can actually help you execute on those surveys. We certainly recommend doing so to learn from your backers. The only thing we help execute on is by providing you with a pre-launch page tool where you can create a landing page to collect your email addresses. And then you would then download a CSV file where you would reach out to them separately through your email marketing. And then you can also send out a survey through there.
Got it. Next question. There's a couple questions about services. So again, to answer all of your service-based questions, the services that LaunchBoom provides, the services that Indiegogo provides, I'd recommend just shooting me or Enzo an email or scheduling a call with LaunchBoom, and we can talk through all of our different services. Next question is what's the most effective way to test a video conversion rate? Advertising. So YouTube ads and/or of course Facebook ads are the best way to test your video, if it will do well or won't do well. You can see it's cool because you can see like where people drop off. You can get some real information as to like, are people clicking through? Are they not clicking through? That would be where I would recommend testing a video. Next question. How many days does a video agency typically take to create a video for a product campaign? I would say like a month would be considered short. Like from end to end, like script to like production, that would be like the shortest. Again, like we've pumped out videos in like a week, but that hurts a lot. Please don't do that to us. But I would say like generally speaking, a month would be very fast. 3 months, 2 to 3 months would be like pretty normal from like to post-production.
For the whole process, from the point that you're looking around and shopping around agencies, it would take around 2 months to complete the video because you've got to shop around for the right agency to produce your video. And then once you lock in a team, they have to do research into the space, write the script, do the first shoot, edit, and then reshoot again. And then you'll have a final video usually 2 months after you start looking for an agency. Yep.
Another great question. How much average total investment should we keep aside before making sure that our product to hit 7-figure goals, which includes marketing, video, other channels to get that product, like any round figures? If I was to like, it really depends on the data, but if I was to like just ballpark it, like 100 grand would be what I would play with, maybe 150. So like 50,000 for like pre-launch video, everything to like go, and then maybe like 100,000 in reserve for more advertising. That's like, if you really want me to ballpark it, like I think we're in the same stadium.
Yeah, on the same page with you on that one.
Cool. Okay, the real value of TestBoom, still a 10K investment, needed, recommended, mandatory. Yeah, I can answer that one. TestBoom's awesome. Yeah, it's about 10K. That includes ad spend. Needed and recommended, mandatory. Definitely highly recommended. It depends on your product. Leandro, if you want to shoot me an email, like what your product is, I'll tell you, like just straight up, be like, yeah, dude, definitely do TestBoom. We do occasionally skip the TestBoom process, but we don't advise that just because we want to make sure that you're a good fit and we're a good fit before jumping into our full service LaunchBoom program. So again, we can talk shop on that one, but generally speaking, absolutely. Again, RotoFarm in Harmony is going to be launching June 2nd. That was a TestBoom graduate that actually failed, came back, and is crushing it right now. I highly recommend it. but nothing's mandatory. If you can't afford it or that doesn't work, totally cool. I would recommend LaunchBoom Academy and working directly with Indiegogo. Okay, if you've already launched with some relative decent success and are trying to 3x, 5x, 10x your campaign, what should your focus be? And sorry, to answer, so Peter, I highly recommend TestBoom. It's a service provided by LaunchBoom where we basically test your product using Facebook advertising. But if you get on the phone with LaunchBoom, we can talk you more through that. So again, back to this other question, if you've already launched with some relative decent success and are trying to get a 3 to 5 to 10x your campaign, what should your focus be? Advertising. That would be my answer, because we're at 1 minute left, and then I know we've got to hop off here. So there's still some really great questions in here, and what we'll do is I'll have either myself or somebody on our team dig in here and do our best to answer some of your questions. Again, I'm going to post my email address if you have questions. Again, Enzo, if you wouldn't mind sharing yours again. And we'll share our email address with you guys so that you can follow up and get your questions answered. And then know too that, like, again, LaunchBoom and Indiegogo, our blogs are a great source of a wealth of information and can answer those questions, as well as our team members. So don't hesitate. Don't be afraid just to pick up the phone and get on the phone with Indiegogo and get on the phone with LaunchBoom, because we'll be able to point you in the right direction, even if we're not the best fit.
Totally. We're happy to be your point of contact moving forward here, guys, and excited for next steps.
Yep. Well, thank you everybody so much for being on. Thank you so much, Enzo. This has been awesome. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge and information and insights from the Indiegogo side. Really, really appreciate you, man, and everything that you do, both for the community at large, for LaunchBoom, and for everybody. So appreciate you, Enzo. Have an amazing day, and thank you everybody for being on.
Right back at you, Tom. Thanks, everyone, and good luck on your launch.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.